I'm toast. We got back to Michigan. Our house was vandalized. Horse manure spread everywhere. Signs on the trees telling us to move to Havana and everything else. Which, when you live in Michigan in the winter, that actually doesn't sound so bad. And then life got. I decided to say just to hell with it, and 15 months later, in those 15 months, I made Fahrenheit 9/11, and it was made during this time of constant death threats, constantly being attacked physically, and I've told you some of this before. I don't really like to talk about it publicly because I don't want to encourage nuts to. But eventually, they had to put. I had a total of. It got up to 9 bodyguards on me, 3 per shift, 24 hours a day, living with us. There was the guy in Nashville that came, jumped up on the stage with a knife. There was a guy in Portland that had a metal pipe coming at me. There was the guy in Fort Lauderdale who was just walking out of Starbucks and saw me on the sidewalk and became livid and took the lid off his hot scalding coffee and threw it in my face. The bodyguard was he was so fast, he put his face in front of mine to catch it and got secondary. We had to take him to the hospital, but not before he took the guy down on the sidewalk and handcuffed him. But and then there was the guy who was going to blow up our house, and he was making his practice bombs in Illinois, and one night, and one went off accidentally. He wasn't hurt. The neighbors heard it. They called the cops, and they came there, and they saw all the materials and the list of people whose homes he was going to blow up. And it was Janet Reno, Rosie O'Donnell, Hillary, and me. And how I made it on the lesbian list, I don't know, but but Girlfriends Magazine the following year named me Man of the Year. So it's the lesbian magazine. So no, I try to laugh about it because, anyways, he was convicted and went to the federal penitentiary. And as I've said to you privately, I've wondered at times if I had it all to do over again, whether I actually would. Because I don't know if it's been worth it personally. I don't think it's been good for my health. I don't think it's been fair to my family to have to live in fear, to my 89-year-old father who lives alone, who has to live with that fear, and all the security apparatus that has to be put in place to protect them. And if the honest answer, I'd like to give you the brave answer, but the honest answer is I'm not so sure I would do it again, having gone through what I went through at that time. And I say that only because I'm human, and I'm every bit as frightened of not being able to finish my life as any of you would be. So, somehow I pushed through it. I have some very good friends and a wonderful family, and so many, all of you and the people that keep going to my movies and send me lots of words of encouragement, and all my Twitter followers. So I'm grateful for that, and I persevere and keep going. And I don't know what I'm going to do next because I'm not doing anything right now. But I'd like as many people as possible to see this last movie, and it's because I think it says everything I want to say about how we've structured our society when it comes to how we treat each other.
You were saying earlier that you're trying to look more now toward what can be done to change the situation that we're in, and obviously the Obama administration was welcomed by the people, but has disappointed in many ways. What do you think that people who are still concerned about what that movement stood for at the beginning, those who were supporting him and those who saw a hope for real change. What needs to be done now?
Well, the cynical answer that the Democrats, the Democratic Party, and Obama would give you is that they know we have nowhere else to go, and so therefore they don't have to listen to us, and they can play it. They can play it in the center, or even to the right. And where are we going to go? Yeah, you know, Patty and I, you know, were very vocal and worked for Ralph back in 2000. You know, the way our system is rigged, it's not like other democracies where you have 4, 5, 6 political parties. And, you know, you watch the Canadian elections, all 5 political parties are at the debates. They all get an equal amount of airtime. You know, it's a fair system. Britain's going through it right now, and their election season will last 4 weeks. So it's rigged against a third party. So either that has to change, or I guess what I've tried to encourage people to do locally, and essentially we did it in Michigan. We moved up into northern Michigan to basically just, you know, be away from everything, and it's in the woods, and it's a county that always votes for Republicans, and there were 4 dues-paying members of the Democratic Party there in this county when we moved there, and so we decided, why don't we let's just take over. Let's just get 8 of our friends to come, and we'll be the majority, and we'll just take it over. That's a lot easier than starting something new. You know, they've already got, you know, stationery printed, and you know, they got a logo picked out, and you know how many fights can happen over the logo. So, so today there's 350 dues-paying members of the Democratic Party in our county, and when Bart Stupak, who's our congressman, was going to derail the healthcare. Sorry if you were listening on radio; those were the air quotes I was giving it. When he was going to derail that because of his own personal religious views, we got active very quickly and put an enormous amount of pressure on him, and one of our own announced her candidacy to run against him in the primary, and totally turned his life upside down. He was forced to vote the right way. And I saw that happen, that citizen power on a local level, with the work we had done just in 4 years of building the local Democratic Party into essentially a very progressive left political organization that uses the free ballot space called the Democratic Party on the ballot. And I've encouraged this around the country, and I've heard of other people doing similar things. And we go to the state convention, and we're just, you know, we cause a ruckus whenever we can with the other Democrats that really should be calling themselves Republicans.
As we wrap up, Michael, the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, what is your solution that you think should happen now?
Well, I think was it last week or a couple weeks ago? The Afghanistan war surpassed Vietnam as our longest war. I think we should start referring to it as for what it is. It's Obama's war. Just as Johnson's war became Nixon's war, this is his war. I don't know why he'd want a war. This is a completely unwinnable. I don't even want to use that word, because what are we trying to win? I mean, it's so absolutely crazy. And I've seen a couple documentaries. We saw one there when we were at Sundance, and I just saw one here at Tribeca that just show the absolute futility and stupidity of this war, and the third war that's going on really in Pakistan. If I had President Obama's ear, I would say to him, I would like you to stop this now. It's not your war. You are absolutely right to figure out what needs to be done law enforcement-wise to bring anyone to justice who participated in the mass murder of 3,000 people. But that was a crime. That wasn't an act of war from another nation. And it got built into that, blown into that, on purpose by people who knew what they were doing in order to instill fear into the country so they could get whatever the hell they wanted. And it worked, for a while at least, and for a long while, sadly. And he should end it. He should bring the troops home now. He should bring all the troops home from Iraq. He's going to tell you that they're all home at the end of the summer, but there's probably going to be 50,000 still there. This is not our business. We had